For peanuts you will long for later on. Too late, the peanut vendor will be gone, and then I am sure you will grieve sore.
That we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Jackson Jacks. The internet is a dark and mysterious place, populated with anonymous netizens who run amok inside their very own digital subconsciousnesses. The internet, or society in general for that matter, is no stranger to hoaxes, lies, and people who seemingly do not exist. But, what happens when a person who should not exist does? Today, I am here to bring you all perhaps one of the strangest stories I've encountered in the 30 or so odd years of my using the internet. So, get some popcorn, get some drinks, and strap in folks. This one might be a doozy. The story begins simply enough. Recently, I received an email in my inbox about a quote-unquote weird subject I'd like you to investigate. A pretty generic title, but, it's from my fans, so I have to read it. Hi Jackson Jacks, I hope you are doing well. I want to tell you about a pretty personal subject that I haven't seen anybody else cover before, so I'm reaching out to you in the hopes that you might be able to help me. Recently, I've been haunted by a person that has been appearing in my dreams. If you ask me to describe them, I don't think I could do it. It's a sort of, you know it when you see it type of thing. Except, I don't want to see this person ever again. Every time they appear in my dreams, I wake up screaming and thrashing. Weirdly enough, I don't actually remember what happens to me after it sees me in the dream. I can't shake the feeling of cold dread I'm left with after I'm whipped from my slumber. I've already talked to my therapist, and they can't identify anything wrong with me. I've actually asked some people around me if they've experienced something similar, and, to my surprise, they agree that something has been happening to them recently as well. Although, as aforementioned, we can't really describe how this entity looks. For some reason, we all instinctively know its name. Massy. Massy. Ever since I've started having these nightmares, I find myself kind of spiraling. I haven't been able to enjoy the things I normally do, and I feel an incredible sense of fear boiling in my gut at all times. Please, Mr. Jacks, help me. You're the only person who can. Sincerely, S. Now, normally, I wouldn't think too much of this type of email. It's vague. It doesn't exactly relate to any pre-existing internet phenomenon that I'm familiar with. But, the content of the email intrigued me, and it seemed like this was really bothering my dear viewer. After a few more rereads, I couldn't detect a hint of irony, or sarcasm, or jokiness in the message. It seemed, well, genuine and sincere. So, with all that being said, I decided to do a little digging. This would be the biggest mistake of my life. Now, a single definition is not a lot to go off of. All I was given was one word: Massy. What did this word mean? A quick Google search revealed to me that the definition of massy is to consist of a large mass, bulky, massive. Yeah, this wasn't going to cut it. Further Google searching revealed to me that Massy was indeed a city or province in France specifically. Now, this doesn't exactly scream to me like the person we're looking for, but it's a lead nonetheless. A quick street view of Massy shows a pretty picturesque, albeit modern, French town. Not what we're looking for. Next up was Reddit, the internet's quote-unquote front page. A quick search on Reddit does not reveal much, at least at first. Just a variety of recent news, political figures, relatively inane material. Also, not exactly what we're looking for. However, one user in particular did grab my attention. One Massy. A quick look into this user's account history reveals a, let us say, interesting side of the internet. Again, I do not think this is what we're looking for. Next up would, of course, be TikTok, the breeding ground for the next generation's intellectuals. Upon first look, it seems like there's also not much going on here, and upon further look, that feeling is even stronger. Massy is not a TikToker, at least to my knowledge, and I quickly ruled this site out as a viable source of leads as well. Now, with TikTok done and dusted, it's time to move on to YouTube, my stomping grounds. A quick search in YouTube for Massy reveals to us probably the most common result that I encountered over the course of my investigation. One Massy Arias, a fitness influencer. Now, call it a hunch, but I don't think anybody would not welcome this young lady inside their dreams. So I'm not quite sure if this is the Massy that my viewer was referring to. Upon further inquiry into YouTube, I was inundated with, again, more seemingly inane, underweight results to my search. However, when I typed in Massy Dream, as indicated to me by my viewer, I received quite an interesting result in return. Here, take a look. Suffice to say, I got chills. Perhaps I should have taken this as a warning sign that, if I pushed further into the Massy investigation, I would come to regret it. But I decided to dig a little deeper. The appropriately named Massy Mass channel seems to be recently more or less occupied with archiving the Wonder Years. However, going a little further back into the channel's post-history seems to detail a different story, albeit one that might not entirely relate to the current search for this individual known as Massy. It seemed to me at this point that I needed to dig a little deeper. Perhaps the surface web wasn't quite enough in helping me find the answers that I was looking for. Using my secret government connections, I decided to use a database scraper to really figure out who Massey could be. And the results speak for themselves. All that was returned to me was a list of people that merely shared the name Massey, and judging from the age and demographics and sort of possible links that these people could give me, I don't think this, too, proved fruitful, which is unfortunate. While trolling through the various pages of Google, I happened upon a pretty interesting lead to the Massey investigation. One article dedicated to a Massey Harbison, which was in dedication to a 230-year anniversary of abduction by Native Americans. What could this mean? Now, a quick look into the article tells the story of a young mother in the 1700s who was abducted by Native Americans and who was able to miraculously escape from their captors. Truly an inspirational story in the history of Massey, and perhaps this could give me a hint into the depths of the internet that I needed to delve into to figure out the Massey phenomenon. Although perhaps this should have been obvious at first, a quick pop into Massey.com directs me to a webpage that, unfortunately, just seems to be under construction. However, we have a tool ingeniously called the Wayback Machine that will allow me to view Massey.com in a new light, so let's take a look. Now, from the earliest versions, Massey.com seems to be a sort of dead site. A sort of transient webpage purveyed by and afforded by different businesses over the course of the years. On first glance, it doesn't seem like this particular webpage or weed seems promising. Oh look, an S. How quaint. Now, moving on, as you can see from the screen, this is mainly just a repository site for various, I imagine, defunct businesses / enthusiasts trying to make their first website, and it really shows. This too seems to be a dead weed. Now, at this point in the investigation, I was feeling pretty dried out. It seemed that I had exhausted every lead available to me on the internet. There didn't seem to be any real connections between the Masseys I saw while scrolling through YouTube, TikTok, Google, that related at all to the Massey that our dear viewer S described in his email. No paranoia, no nightmares or dreams mentioned, just a sea of Masseys among Masseys among Masseys. But, while scrolling through YouTube once again, I saw something that caught my eye, so to say.
The holidays are a very special time. Hi, I'm Sean Massey, the Furniture Guy. Everyone knows how important family is to us, but this holiday season some families won't have enough food, including milk. That's why Massey's is teaming up with FeedNewYork.org and donating a percentage of our sales this month to help the Fill a Glass with Hope program. It's important this critical need is met. Help us help them by donating today.
Happy holidays from all of us at Massey's Furniture Barn, and thank you.
Now, you may be asking, Jackson Jacks, what's the deal with this? What does Sean Massey's Furniture Barn have to do with literally anything? Well, on its own, it doesn't. But one detail about Sean Massey's Furniture Barn is the name, Sean Massey. S. Massey. S, which has been very prevalent in the searches we've been through so far. In fact, Massey itself has 2 S's. What does this mean? S. M. One result that I originally did not think to be helpful was Massey Stores, a sort of grocery chain in various European countries. But upon this revelation, Massey Stores, Massey, S, and What is this flyer that Massey Source is advertising about? Milk Day. Now milk cannot become milks because the plural of milk is milk. But how do we add an S to milk? Well, we have to look for milk is, milkus, milk s, m, s. Have I overlooked something critical? Now, this leads us to our first theory. Theory 1. Massey is not real. Perhaps my viewer has sent me a fraudulent misinformation type of email that is merely there to lead me astray, to lead me on a wild goose chase. And true enough, I would say 90% of the leads I found over the course of my investigation seem to be duds. Seem to be not pertaining to any sort of nightmare that could be plaguing both my viewer and his friends. I'm not sure if Massey could be a real person. I suppose it's possible, but this theory posits that perhaps this was all a worthless hunt after all. This leads us to theory 2. Massey is many. Now perhaps Massey is merely an allegory, a sort of symbol for something that the viewer in my email just simply did not have the capacity to describe. Again, over the course of this investigation, we've seen many Masseys, many different types of Masseys, M-A-S-S-Ys, I-Es, E-Ys. Perhaps Massey is just a sort of thing that exists in our lives, that persists in our daily routines and commutes and habits. Perhaps what my viewer saw in this dream was not really Massey, but instead a symbol of something that he has yet to uncover about himself. Perhaps Massey, at the end of the day, is always just in our hearts. Finally, this brings us to our last theory. Theory 3. A theory so ridiculous, so inane, so out of left field that I'm not actually sure why I even included it in this video. But the theory goes something like this. Massey is shot.